Greetings and God bless. I'm your host, Godwin Hart. I will be discussing the worst thing about Christian denominations.
But I will be doing it as redeemed Zoomer. His voice, at least, I do a great impression of Zoomer's voice. Let's begin. Christian denominations. What's not to like? They love Jesus Christ and all believe in the essentials of Christianity. However, all denominations have spots, and Satan worshippers making their way into the church with heresies. Let's go over the wrongs of each denomination. Baptists are like the golden retriever dog of Christianity. However, Baptists can be like multiple species of whiny yip-yap schnauzer dogs that bark loudly. Yet there is no power in them, because Baptist churches claim Jesus Christ is the only way, yet it has to be through Southern Baptist Jesus. Oh wait, or was it Independent Baptist Jesus? Or I don't know. Each Baptist church fights and splits over petty disputes. They can be very arrogant and are blind to the liberal virus that is taking over the church. Methodists are very similar to Baptists, however, they're the second place winners. The worst thing about Methodists is, like Baptists, plagued with the liberal progressive Christianity virus. Adventists co-founder Ellen Gould Harmon White, a false prophetess, was an ex-Methodist. Now Salvation Army came from the Methodist Church, yet the Salvation Army has been infiltrated and conquered by Satan because they have accepted homosexuality into their programs and have partnered with Faith Counts, a multi-faith cult. What's wrong about Presbyterians, Dutch Reformed, Huguenot, and Puritan/Congregationalist is the fact that they are Calvinists, and Calvinism is pretty much a works-based religion straight from Satan. John Calvin even betrayed someone and had him killed by the Catholic Church. So yeah, Calvinism is also like atheism, as they preach that you don't have freedom essentially, and that God is an uncaring person, plus the Prebs are more about church businesses than others I have seen. Oh yeah, and Princeton is a very liberal college. The worst thing about Lutherans is that it was founded by Martin Luther, and that he is the center of God's sacraments instead of Jesus Christ. And Luther and his Lutherans have a very wrong view of Scripture, such as including the Apocrypha to the 66 books of canon, therefore adding works to grace and holding Mary to a degree that is similar to the Catholic Church, and being anti-Semitic towards the Jews who are God's chosen people. And like most or all Protestant denominations are very liberal. The worst thing about Catholicism is if you just look at their history, come on. Scandal after scandal, the wars and the skeletons in the closet, there's a lot of things that don't even need to be explained about how wrong Catholicism is. They have a radical Catholic group called the Jesuits, also known as stormtroopers. And then, of course, you have the Pope, who has unlimited power and is equal to the apostles according to their false doctrines. The worst thing about Anglicans/Episcopalians is that they blend the most horrid wrong things from each tradition, whether it be from Catholicism or Protestantism. It's a recipe for major deaths in the spiritual realm, and of course, they're very liberal and corrupt like the other churches that they imitate into their mixing pot of death. The worst thing about the Eastern Orthodox is that they are the most arrogant Christian group there is. They think that the true heir to Constantinople and the apostles of Jesus Christ is none other than themselves, the Eastern Orthodoxy, and of course they claim to know Jesus more than anyone. When in fact they look like the Pharisees of Christendom, they don't believe in original sin. In fact, they invent the doctrine of ancestral sin, in which human beings are not inherently sinful, which is a major sin, and they add their own meanings about hell. The worst thing about the Oriental churches, the Coptic and so forth, is that they hide the truth from people. These are some of the oldest churches, and they claim all sorts of myths that they have the Ark of the Covenant, the oldest Bible ever recorded, which contains the false first book of Enoch, and yes, the book of Enoch, first, second, or third are false books. Even if the first one was quoted, it's just a sign, just like idols being washed up or quoting pagan poets, which the apostles do in some verses. Of course, the Oriental churches have their own pope system and add works-based righteousness to grace. The worst thing about Pentecostals is that they're typically charismatic, soft, and just weak, like most Protestant denominations. They even have their own separate branch of Pentecostals known as the Oneness Pentecostals, which is a group that denies the Trinity and accepts all sorts of heresies to the point they're not even in the Nicene Creed. These heretics truly left a nasty scar on the Nicene Pentecostals. The worst thing about Moravians is that they are obscured from history and are Protestants of division within Christianity like the Catholic Church. The Moravians allow women pastors and have accepted gay marriage like most Protestant denominations of this current century and year of 2024, a sad and unfortunate turn of events. The worst thing about the Assyrian Church of the East is that it's not really well known, and they have what's called a Catholicos Patriarch, which is essentially a pope that oversees the church, and of course they align themselves with the Catholic Church and all their corruption. The Assyrian Church of the East has works-based righteousness and all sorts of mystical church history nonsense, like the Orientals and Coptics. The worst thing about the Church of Christ by Andy Campbell is that it's not a part of the Nicene Creed and allows a whole bunch of cult-like stuff such as forbidding music and claiming that Christianity has been corrupted, a very dangerous theology, and allowing women pastors. This is a group that doesn't seem to have any sort of good about it. The worst thing about Seventh-day Adventism is the whole thing itself. Yep, the whole thing. They follow the false prophetess Ellen Gould White, who is in hell with all false prophets. As a schism of Christianity, Ellen G. Witch, as I should call her, claimed that going to church on Sunday is the mark of the beast and preached the heresy of denying pre-tribulation rapture because Ellen knew she wasn't going to get raptured to begin with anyway. And Seventh-day Adventists take pride in policing Christianity with their heresies and are not a part of the Nicene Creed like the Church of Christ. And of course, Adventists make tons of stupid response videos like Catholics do. If Adventists were part of the Nicene Creed, they would be the most arrogant Christian group, and the SDA have partnered with the multi-faith cult Faith Counts. The worst thing about the Hebrew Roots movement is the whole thing itself as well. Of course, it's not a denomination, but I've put it on the list because it's a cult like the Adventist Church. These are modern-day Judaizers that go into the realm of myths and legends and preach sacred name theology nonsense. They say calling Jesus is a sin and that you should only call him Yeshua or Yeshua, and some don't even believe Yeshua or Jesus even exists, so clearly this is an awful group, and they want to put you under the law, and they attack rapture, attack the Trinity, and attack Christianity as satanic, and that their heretical views are the true Christian way, which aren't, by the way, and like Adventists, they police Christianity and pretend that we are all on the same side, which we're not. I believe that 2024 Nicene Creed denominations can and have led people to Christ. However, free grace movement is the best of Christianity, since it's the true way the early church fathers and Lord Christ intended. To learn more, look up UN Friendlyhood or UR Friendlyhood on his Gracecraft and check Fuego Savvy to understand the true gospel of free grace movement. Please don't fight over secondary issues, mainly about conditional immortality and annihilationism. It's not the same as universalism apocatastasis, after all. Non-believers think both hell and death are great places when they are not. Well, that's that for this video.
This is your host, Godwin Hart. Take care and God bless.